Welcome to Live Interactive English. I'm Kiki.
Hey everybody, I am Shane, and today we are talking about the Panama Canal, a historic watercourse facing new challenges.
Right. The Panama Canal, I mean, I've heard of it. It's world famous. But Shane, I don't think we talk about Panama that much as a country.
Yeah, there's not, you don't hear a lot of information about Panama. There's a TV show I watch where there is a Panamanian girl who is from that country, so I get a little feeling for maybe what people from Panama are like, but she's a little bit crazy, so maybe she's not a good representation. But there are some interesting facts about Panama.
Like what?
Like, for example, did you know that there are over 1,000 species of birds in Panama, which you might not understand what that means. That means that there are more species of birds in Panama than in both America and Canada combined. And that's a large area.
Yeah.
And Panama's a small country.
Yeah, if you look at Panama as a country compared to the US and Canada, that little piece, and then that's Panama, right?
Yeah, there's supposed to be birds everywhere. Do you like birds?
I do. I like birds. I mean, I really enjoy bird watching, but I don't really know too many bird names and stuff. But
me neither. They're pretty and they're fascinating creatures. Also, it is the only capital city that has a rainforest, which is within the city limits.
Oh. Well,
so that makes sense why there would be so many birds, right? You're so close to a rainforest.
Right, exactly.
Well, you're actually in a rainforest. So that's pretty interesting.
Well, can you imagine how nice it is to wake up every morning and just see different colored
Lots of birds chirping. That would be nice. Okay, why don't we get into today's lesson?
The Panama Canal is an engineering wonder. It cuts across an entire continent and connects the Earth's two largest oceans. When it was completed in 1914, the 82-kilometer-long watercourse quickly became vital to international trade. But now, climate change and political disputes mean it faces an uncertain future. The history of the canal. The idea of a canal in Central America was first suggested in the 16th century. However, the first attempt to construct one didn't occur until 1881. The effort was led by the French diplomat Ferdinand de Lesseps.
Welcome to day one of our article, The Panama Canal, a historic watercourse facing new challenges.
All right, well, let's find out about these challenges and find out about the Panama Canal. All right, so beginning, the Panama Canal is an engineering wonder. It cuts across an entire continent and connects the Earth's two largest oceans. What are those two oceans?
The Atlantic and the Pacific.
That's right. Okay, so when we say engineering, what do we mean? Engineering is a noun. It's the activity of applying scientific knowledge to the design, building, and control of machines, roads, bridges, electrical equipment, so on and so on. So for example, the new bridge is an amazing example of modern engineering.
Okay, back to the article. When it was completed in 1914, the 82-kilometer-long watercourse quickly became vital to international trade.
Wow, it's 111 years old.
Yeah, so it became something that was really important for countries to do business together.
Right, it made it just easier to get from the Atlantic to the Pacific or from the Pacific to the Atlantic, and that's very important for trade.
Right.
Right? Okay, but now climate change and political disputes mean it faces an uncertain future.
Ooh.
What do we mean when there are political disputes? What's a dispute?
Okay, well, a dispute in this case is used as a noun, and it's basically an a disagreement or an argument between two people or two different parties.
Right.
Okay,
could be
so
companies.
you and I can have a dispute about who makes the best chocolate chip cookies. That's a dispute. I make it better.
Me, no, it's definitely me.
Okay, so a dispute is when two people or two groups of people, they don't agree on something. Okay, and in our article, we're talking about political disputes. So we're talking about two different countries or two governments that are having a disagreement.
That's correct.
Okay, an example sentence would be, the two companies are in a legal dispute over the land.
Oh, okay. So dispute is all about just having a disagreement.
That's right.
Hello， 大家好，我是 Hanny。这2天的课程是关于巴拿马运河。巴拿马运河是一项工程奇迹，穿越了整个大陆，并连接世界上最大的2个海洋。当它在1914年完工的时候，很快就对国际贸易变得举足轻重。那现在因为气候变迁还有政治争端，使它面临了不确定的未来。单字 engineering 表示工程学或是工程设计。Dispute 它表示争端、争执或者是纠纷。Kiki 老师在解释单字时有提到 disagreement， 在 agreement 前面加上 dis， 它可以表达意见分歧、不同或不一致。接着滑课文中。
All right, so why don't we first go ahead and take a look at the history of the canal? The idea of a canal in Central America was first suggested in the 16th century.
Okay.
So the 16th century would be like the 1500s. They already started having this idea.
Yeah.
It ended up taking like 400 years for them to finally build it. However, the first attempt to construct one didn't occur until 1881.
Okay, so they did try after 300 years.
After about a few hundred years.
Talking about it.
Yeah, they discussed it. It was a long discussion, occurred over many generations of people. But finally they said, hey, let's construct this. Now, what does it mean to construct something? To construct something means to build or make something, such as a road, building, or a machine.
Right.
For example, you could say a lot of money is required to construct a strong and safe building.
Okay. Well, the effort was led by the French diplomat Ferdinand de Lesseps. Okay, so someone had to be in charge of finally looking after this construction, since everyone has been talking about it for so long.
Yeah, so he went ahead and said, okay, I'm going to take the lead.
Let's do it.
So he was a diplomat.
Yes.
What does that mean?
Okay, a diplomat is basically a person that represents a country abroad. So, for example, a French diplomat would be somebody the French government sends to another country to represent them.
Right.
And to kind of speak on their behalf.
And typically having to do with like politics and things like that, right?
That's right.
Okay,
so an example sentence would be, the diplomat was sent to another country to discuss trade agreements.
Okay.
So someone from a government was sent to another country to talk to the other country.
About trade agreements.
Okay.
我们先来看看巴拿马运河的历史。在中美洲建造运河的想法，最早是在16世纪提出的，可是直到1881年才首度尝试兴建运河。这项行动是由法国外交官费迪南德·雷塞布来主导。好，看动词 construct， 它表示建造、建构。那它的名词是 construction， 就是表达建造、兴建。Diplomat 表示外交官，而外交官代表着自己的国家，我们可以用到 on behalf of 加名词来指说代表某人啊、团体或是组织等等，这也可以写作 on somebody's behalf。好，刚刚说到，直到1881年才首度尝试兴建运河，我们这边要介绍 not until 的用法。Until 可以当介系词或连接词，搭配否定的子句时是表达直到什么才开始。那句型是主词加上助动词 not 加上动词，再加 until 后面接名词或子句。我们造2个例句。She didn't go to bed until midnight. 直到半夜她才上床睡觉。 She didn't go to bed until her parents came home. 直到爸妈回到家，她才上床睡觉。好，这句话课文中。
All right, okay, so that's a little bit of history about the canal and, the beginning of the construction of the canal. So let's take a short break and we'll come back and find out what happens. How did it get built?
Lesseps had previously overseen the construction of the Suez Canal, so he seemed perfect for the job. However, things didn't go according to plan. The Frenchman and his team faced engineering challenges, tropical diseases, and financial troubles. After a few years, they gave up. The United States took over the project in 1904. The U.S. team modified the design and improved workers' conditions. 10 years later, the canal was completed. For decades, it was run by the U.S., but many Panamanians felt it should be theirs. In 1977, U.S. President Jimmy Carter agreed to gradually hand the canal over to the Central American country, and this process was completed in 1999. It has been in Panamanian hands ever since.
Welcome back, everybody. So before the break, we got a little bit of history about the Panama Canal. Although it didn't really start being built until 1881, there were discussions about building this canal ever since the 16th century. And coming to today, right now, we're having problems because there's kind of an uncertain future for the Panama Canal because of political disputes and because of environmental challenges. So let's find out what's going to happen.
Yeah. But first, let's find out a little bit more about what it was like when this canal was being constructed. Okay, so Lesseps had previously overseen the construction of the Suez Canal. So he seemed perfect for the job. He already had this experience
of constructing a canal.
Right.
Yeah, right.
And I would think that he was a good diplomat, right? He'd been sent abroad for so long.
Yeah.
However, things didn't go according to plan.
Yep, a lot of times things do not go according to plan, especially in such a big project like that, building a canal.
That's true.
Okay, so the Frenchman and his team faced engineering challenges, tropical diseases, and this happens a lot. Financial troubles. It's all about the money. After a few years, they gave up.
Oh no.
Yeah, right? Okay, so we have some vocabulary words here. Tropical. Now, when we're talking about tropical, that's an adjective. It means coming from or found in the tropics. So the tropics is kind of like there's an imaginary line that cuts the Earth into north and south called the equator. So it's the area that's just around the equator. Typically very warm, it's a little bit hotter than usual.
Well, I grew up in a tropical island.
Oh.
You wouldn't think of it as a tropical island, but Singapore is very close to the equator.
Very close to the equator.
And very hot.
Right. Okay, so an example sentence would be, we enjoyed the warm weather and the bright sun on the tropical island. So when people do think of a tropical island, they do think of,
coconuts.
Coconuts and maybe, some nice drinks and lots of sunshine and relaxing,
by the beach.
Yeah, it always has like a very positive image when we think about a tropical island. Okay,
but we also have another word that people would think about when they think of Singapore, which is the word financial.
Oh, that's true.
Okay, this is an adjective, and of course, financial has something to do with money. Like we talked about, the canal needed lots of money to be constructed. Okay, so we have an example sentence, which is, he needs financial support to start his new business. Okay, so even if you have an idea to make money, to start a business, you can't just start with empty pockets.
Yeah, you need some financial support.
Yeah, you need money. You need to find money.
Okay.
Okay, back to the article. The United States took over the project in 1904.
Oh.
Okay. The U.S. team modified the design and improved workers' conditions.
Go U.S. That's where I'm from. Yeah.
Okay, we did talk about like tropical diseases, right? So a lot of the workers might be working in some tough situation, tough conditions.
It's a tough environment,
Yeah.
right? So they improved the workers' conditions and they modified the design. So to modify as a verb just means if you modify something, it's to change something slightly, especially in order to make it more suitable for a particular purpose. Now, the purpose here is to get boats from the Atlantic or to the Pacific or vice versa. So we need to make it more suitable for that purpose, right?
那位法国外交官之前曾经负责监督苏伊士运河的新建工程，他似乎就是这项工作的完美人选。但是事情并没有按照计划进行，他跟他的团队面临了工程挑战、热带疾病还有财务困难。几年后，他们就放弃了。美国在1904年接手这项计划。那他们的团队修改了设计，并改善工人的工作条件。好，单字 tropical 是形容热带的。我们顺便补充一下 ，the tropics 就可以指热带 ，the equator 表示赤道。下一个单字 financial 或是 financial， 它是形容财务的、金融的。modify 这个动词表示修改、变更或者是修饰。那这边还有2个文法重点，第一个是 go according to plan， 表示按计划发展，按照计划安排进行。其中的 according 可以省略，那么 plan 在这边固定用单数型。举例来说 ，We're glad that everything went according to plan。我们很高兴一切都按照计划进行。第二个重点是 take over 的不同用法跟意思。首先，第一个它可以表达接手、接替别人做的事，那可以当及物或不及物用。例如 I can take over for you if you need a break。如果你需要休息一下，我可以接手。第二个意思可以表达取得控制或是占领，那它是当及物用。举例来说 Adam doesn't want to take over his father's business。 Adam 不想接管他父亲的事业。好，那接回课文中。
Okay, so continuing the article, 10 years later, the canal was completed. Oh, just 10 years. Not bad, okay. For decades, it was run by the U.S., but many Panamanians felt it should be theirs. Well, that makes sense, it's their country, although they didn't really build it. But I mean, come on, it's in Panama, right?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Well, we'll see what happens. In 1977, U.S. President Jimmy Carter agreed to gradually hand the canal over to the Central American country. This is Panama. And this process was completed in 1999.
Wow, so relatively recently, just in the last around 25 years.
Right.
Okay. It has been in Panamanian hands ever since.
Okay, so eventually they did hand it back to them.
Yeah, we hand it back just means you give them the power and you give them the freedom to use it as it's basically theirs.
Right.
Right.
10年后，这条运河完成了，它由美国营运了数十年。可是许多巴拿马人认为运河应该是他们的。在1977年，美国总统吉米·卡特同意将巴拿马运河逐步移交给这个中美洲国家，最终在1999年完成了移交。那从此运河就一直是由巴拿马掌管的。文中他用到 hand something over to ... 是表达将某事物交给什么什么。那么 in somebody's hands 或者是 in the hands of somebody 则是表达由某人掌控、支配的意思。接回课文中。
Okay, so it's a pretty interesting history of the Panama Canal. And, finally, after centuries, they got this thing built thanks to the U.S.
Well, I think the most important thing through day one of our article is to know how important the Panama Canal actually is to trading, because it's something that's been talked about since the 16th century.
Yeah.
And of course, the power to control the Panama Canal is important too.
Very important. So now it's all under Panamanian control. Okay, all right, that's all the time we have for day 1, but we have day 2. So we will see you back very soon.
The Panama Canal is an engineering wonder. It cuts across an entire continent and connects the Earth's 2 largest oceans. When it was completed in 1914, the 82-kilometer-long watercourse quickly became vital to international trade. But now, climate change and political disputes mean it faces an uncertain future. The history of the canal. The idea of a canal in Central America was first suggested in the 16th century. However, the first attempt to construct one didn't occur until 1881. The effort was led by the French diplomat Ferdinand de Lesseps. Lesseps had previously overseen the construction of the Suez Canal, so he seemed perfect for the job. However, things didn't go according to plan. The Frenchman and his team faced engineering challenges, tropical diseases, and financial troubles. After a few years, they gave up. The United States took over the project in 1904. The U.S. team modified the design and improved workers' conditions. 10 years later, the canal was completed. For decades, it was run by the U.S., but many Panamanians felt it should be theirs. In 1977, U.S. President Jimmy Carter agreed to gradually hand the canal over to the Central American country, and this process was completed in 1999. It has been in Panamanian hands ever since.
最后，我们来复习今天课文里的单字文法。单字的部分有 engineering， 它是名词，表示工程学、工程设计。dispute 是名词，表示争端、争执或纠纷。construct 动词，表示建造、建构。diplomat 是名词，表示外交官。tropical 则是形容热带的。Financial 或 financial 是形容财务的、金融的。文法的部分，第一个我们学到 until 搭配否定的子句，表达直到什么才开始。句型会是主词加助动词 not 加动词 until 再接名词或子句。第二个学到 go according to plan， 其中的 according 可以省略，表达按计划发展，按照计划安排进行。第三个学到 take over， 它可以表达接手、接替别人所做的事，或者是表达取得控制、占领。好，那么以上今天的讲解，同学别走开，马上回来哦。
Ha! I told you I would win.
Whatever, you just got lucky this time.
Well, it sounds like somebody's being a little bit salty. What's wrong? Can't handle the defeat?
I'm not salty. I just think that you're celebrating a little too much for a simple game.
Oh, come on. You would do the same thing if you won.
Ugh, whatever. Hey, let's play one more round, and you won't be so lucky this time.
Welcome back. Today we're talking about the slang term salty.
That's right. Salty doesn't just refer to the flavor. In slang, it means being upset or angry about a not so serious situation.
It's like when you lose a game and you start complaining or making excuses. Someone might say you're being salty.
Or when someone makes a sarcastic or bitter comment, you can describe their attitude as salty.
An example sentence could be, he got a bit salty when I pointed out his mistake.
Or they made a salty comment about the new hire getting a promotion so quickly.
It's a common and natural reaction to situations you don't find particularly pleasing. However, keep in mind that being salty doesn't usually solve anything and just shows that you're bothered.
That's right. So it might be better to take things in stride and not get too salty over the small stuff.
And that's all for today's lesson.
And we'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.